Hello, today I'll be talking about 10 rock/metal albums that'll be turning 25 this year. We'll be going back to the year 2000. I've also done a video on 10 rock/metal albums that'll be turning 30 this year, and I believe I did one for albums that'll be turning 20 also, if I remember correctly. And if you haven't seen either of those videos, definitely make sure to check those out after this video right here. But let's go ahead and get into this. These albums will be in no particular order, but we're going to go ahead and start off with one of the biggest names in the world of melodic death metal with Dark Tranquillity with their album Haven. Seems to be one of their more underrated albums from what it seems. It's not talked about as much as some of their other albums like Damage Done or Fiction or even Adama, or of course The Gallery, which is one of their classics. But personally, I think this is another pretty good album from the band. Definitely underrated in my opinion. I think it starts off pretty strong with those first two songs, especially with The Wonders at Your Feet and Not Built to Last. Definitely some of my favorites on the album, but you have other really great songs on here like Fabric, which might be nowadays maybe one of my favorite songs from the band. Definitely underrated. I mean, not talked about as much as some of the other songs even on this album, but personally I dig that song. I also really dig the title track and The Same, but yeah. To me, another really good Dark Tranquillity album. Maybe a tad overlooked in my opinion, and of course, underrated. But next album we'll be talking about a band that I saw live earlier this year, Deftones, and we'll be talking about the third album, White Pony. One of the fan favorites in the discography, and for good reason. This is my second favorite album from the band. Around the Fur is at the top for me. That's one of my favorite albums of all time, but this album would be in close second in their discography when ranking their albums. But yeah, you have many fan favorites on here like Digital Bath and Elite and Passenger, Change, and many others, of course. I think Street Carp is one of their more underrated singles. I really like Knife Party. That's always been one of my favorite Deftones songs. And RX Queen's also pretty good too, but all around, really good album. And I'm actually one of the few people that actually doesn't mind Back to School. I mean, yeah, it does feel a bit dated nowadays. It's definitely of its time, but for me, I actually do not mind that song. But moving to the next album here, moving into the world of pop punk, we have Good Charlotte with their self-titled debut. Definitely really cool that the band is back. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to their new album. I got my copy pre-ordered, and when it comes to Good Charlotte, I think their first three albums are the best. The self-titled, of course, The Young and the Hopeless, and Chronicles of Life and Death. All three of those albums really good, but out of all their albums, the debut has to be my favorite. I mean, of course, it opens up with one of their most well-known songs with Little Things, but you have other really great songs on here like the Motivation Proclamation, which is probably a top 10 Good Charlotte song for me. I also like Festival Song. That's another pretty good anthem for the band. But yeah, I think you have some of the band's best deep cuts on here. I really like Complicated and Screamer. Definitely some of the more underrated cuts off the album, but I do dig those songs. But yeah, all around, definitely another pretty good album. Moving to the next album, moving back to melodic death metal, and definitely one of the biggest names in the genre. Maybe the biggest, or at least in the top three biggest of the genre, maybe. But I mean, we're talking about In Flames with Clayman. But yeah, definitely one of the band's best for sure. I mean, it's not my number one favorite. That would go to Horacle. That has to be my favorite In Flames album. I know some people point to Just a Race, but that would be my second or third favorite. But Clayman, can't go wrong with this album though. I mean, yeah, starts off really strong, especially with those first three songs with Bullet Ride, Pinball Map, and Only for the Weak, bangers back to back. But you have other pretty good songs on here like Clayman and Satellites and Astronauts and As the Future Repeats Today. You have maybe a couple songs on here that are lean more towards being more average or not as strong as the rest of the album, but besides that, all around, another really good album from In Flames. And also probably their last, I guess, classic album, or the last album from their classic era. I mean, I do like Reroute to Remain, but it is an obvious step down from the albums that came before it. The the album length being one of the reasons why, in my opinion. But again, even with that, I still do like Reroute to Remain. But moving to the next album, to me, one of the best comeback albums in the world of metal, Iron Maiden, Brave New World. I have a CD single for The Wicker Man, and it is a limited edition clear CD. And clear CD is not something you see very often, but I came across this at a local record store and definitely had to get it. Definitely really cool find. But yeah, Brave New World, again, definitely one of the best comeback albums in metal, in my opinion. And to me, Iron Maiden's last really good album. With that said, I do think they put out other good stuff after this album. I do like Dance of Death. And Senjutsu, I think, is alright, but personally, I'm not all that big on Book of Souls and Final Frontier. I mean, both of those albums have a few good songs on it, but again, those albums definitely suffer from bloat, and albums that really could benefit from some trimming. And honestly, I'd say the same thing with The Matter of Life and Death, which definitely has its share of fans, but personally, I'm not as big on that album as other fans. I mean, is it their worst? Absolutely not. They've definitely have many worse albums, such as Virtual 11 and some others, but Matter of Life and Death, don't like it as much as some other fans, but I do still think it's an okay album. But for me, again, their last strong album really was this one, in my opinion, with Brave New World. Really great album. I mean, it opens up with maybe the biggest song on here with The Wicker Man, but you have other really great songs on here, like the title track. I really like Ghost of the Navigator. That's one of their more underrated songs, and also one of my favorites on this album. I also really like The Fallen Angel and The Mercenary. Those two songs are definitely bangers. Out of the Silent Planet's another pretty good song for them, in my opinion. But when I saw them live, if I remember correctly, they played Blood Brothers. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think that's one of the weaker songs on the album. Firstly, don't like it as much as many of the other songs on the album, but I still think that song is alright, though. The Nomad, definitely another one of the more underrated songs off the album. But yeah, Brave New World, definitely an album I had to mention here. But moving into the world of nu metal, definitely one of the most hated bands out there. But I like this band, don't care what anyone says. And we are talking about, of course, Limp Bizkit, and we'll be talking about their album Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water. Now, Significant Other will always be my favorite Limp Bizkit album, while $3 Bill Y'all is probably always going to be my second favorite, but this would be my third favorite. I know some people would put this at the top, but which personally I disagree with. But even with that said, I still think this is a good album, and definitely higher within ranking their albums. Definitely up there. I mean, again, it's my third favorite. I mean, you have some of their biggest songs on here, like My Way and Rollin', and of course, My Generation. Oh, and you also have Take a Look Around on here. But you also have Boiler, which I think is maybe one of my favorite singles in general from the band, and also probably one of my favorite Limp Bizkit songs too. You also have, I even like the more melodic songs on here, like I'll Be Okay and The One, but you definitely get your share of bangers on this album too, like of course Full Nelson and Rollin' and many others. But personally, I dig this album. I mean, this is a band that I did discover when I was in middle school. So they are one of those bands I'll always have a soft spot for. Even with all the hate they get, even all these years later, I still do enjoy their music. But yeah, Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water, I dig the album. Not their best, but I do think it is one of their better albums. But next album we'll be talking about, definitely one of the biggest albums in the world of nu metal. Definitely one of the biggest debut albums, especially in the genre, with Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. This is a CD that's for promotional use only, that has 2 songs from the album on it. But yeah, absolutely love this album. This is my second favorite Linkin Park album. I know a lot of people point to this album as their favorite, or as to them their best album, but for me, I gotta go with Meteor. I think that's their best. I think that's their peak, and Meteor is also one of my favorite albums of all time, as I've mentioned many times on the channel for those who have been following me for a long time. But Hybrid Theory, I do think Meteor is perfect, but I think this album is also perfect too. I just think Meteor is, I guess, perfecter, I guess. But Hybrid Theory, definitely a great album though. I mean, the hits on the album I think still hold up. I mean, songs like, of course, Paper Cut, One Step Closer, Crawling in the End. You also have Points of Authority on here, which might be a contender for maybe being my favorite song on the album. I absolutely love that song. Always been one of my favorites from the band. Probably a top 10 Linkin Park song for me. But yeah, I think you get some of their best deep cuts on here. Songs like With You and By Myself, which is definitely a banger. And also I really like A Place for My Head. That's another really good song off of the album. But yeah, Hybrid Theory, definitely an album you got to mention when you're talking about the world of rock and metal in the year 2000. But moving into something a bit heavier, moving into one of the OGs of death metal, we'll be talking about Gateways to Annihilation. My favorite of the Steve Tucker albums. I know some people point to Formulas as their favorite, which personally I somewhat don't get. I mean, that album is definitely, I guess you can maybe say, heavier or faster than this one, but when it comes to a front to back album listen, I just feel like this album is a bit better and a bit more consistent. I mean, and also I think this is probably one of their best sounding albums too. And when it comes to Steve Tucker, I think this album this album was his peak when it comes to his albums with the band. I mean, I think it does sound really good in this album, especially in songs like Secured, Limitations, and Ageless, Still I Am, and of course Summoning Redemption, which is one of the fan favorites off of here. I do like the more doomy moments on the album, like He Who Sleeps, and of course the more thrashy or more faster songs like the album closer with God of the Forsaken. But yeah, all around, really killer album. And kind of an underrated album in their discography, but personally I dig it. But next we're moving to Rage Against the Machine with their final album, Renegades, which is of course a covers album. And you know what, this might be maybe the only covers album I really like, at least that I can think of at the moment. I know Queensryche had a covers album called Take Cover. I'm personally not too big on that. So this might be the only covers album, at least that I can remember or think of at the moment, that I like. But yeah, Rage Against the Machine is one of those bands to me that has no bad songs, and this album is no exception. I mean, some of my favorites on here being Microphone Fiend, Pistol Grip Pump, and of course Renegades of Funk, which is the big song on here. I also really like In My Eyes. That song is definitely a banger. I do also like their cover of How I Could Just Kill a Man. I also do like The Ghost of Tom Joad. That's another one of my favorites off the album, especially the guitar work and really the main riff especially. But yeah, really great album. It's not, now is it top shelf Rage Against the Machine? Of course not. I mean, again, it is a covers album, but personally I think it's still great though. And now for the final album for this video, we'll be talking about Primitive by Soulfly, and this is also my favorite Soulfly album. The debut is great, but I think they would do even better with this album. I do also like the features that you get on this album, like, you know, Tom Araya, you got Chino on the Chino from Deftones on Pain. You also, of course, have Corey Taylor on here too, which is definitely another really great frontman, of course, from Stone Sour and Slipknot. And of course, he does his solo thing too. But I also like, I can't remember the name of the female vocalist, but I do like her vocals in Fly High. I'm blanking out on her name, but that Fly High is probably one of my favorite songs off the album. And of course, the album opener, Back to the Primitive, is definitely one of their best songs in my opinion. But yeah, definitely an album I had to mention. Really great album. But yeah, those are 10 rock/metal albums that'll be turning 25 this year. Let me know your thoughts on these albums in the comment section below and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.